The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv, the last day of February, and the short month, and now we're into March, so we're heading towards spring.
Yep, and it's the start of Lent for some people in the Christian religion. The start of Lent will be on Wednesday for the Roman Catholics. I found it interesting, though, because I guess the Marianites and I think it's the Ukrainian church, they don't allow any meat at all, any animal products on today. Today is their Ash Wednesday. So there's no beef, no chicken, no turkey, no duck, no fish, no dairy, no cheese, nothing, no eggs.
It's Ash Monday.
Yeah. For them, it's Ash Monday, and they can't have any meat products at all, anything that's derived from an animal. So it's a true vegan diet.
Yeah.
So I just found that very interesting. And tomorrow is Mardi Gras.
Ah, yeah.
Fat Tuesday.
The antithesis of Lent.
That's right, Fat Tuesday.
Yeah.
The last day of the decadence.
Yeah, that's
Lent.
The antithesis of Lent, where you're supposed to give up things and Mardi Gras is a celebration of excess.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you that don't know it, there is a Ukrainian church in Fall River.
Yes, there is.
And actually, if you ever watch the movie The Deer Hunter and you see that very long and lavish wedding, the church is set up the same way. It's a very, very unique rite. I actually went to a couple of services there because my uncle's wife was Ukrainian, and I went to a funeral mass, and I went to another mass there, and it's really something to see, because they disappear behind one door, they go in one door, and then they're gone for like 2 or 3 minutes, and they come out another door, and extremely long services too, very long services.
Yeah. Now, isn't that the church that's down by the old Savers?
Yeah, the old Save Right. What was it? Save It.
It's now Dorothy Cox Candy.
Yeah, it's down behind the old Duro finishing,
right,
and the old Savers, and the Griffin Street where the CFC was.
Right.
And you go down that little side street. It's a very tiny little church, and it's a nice little church, but it's a very unique ceremony.
The first time I saw it and I drove by it, I mean, this is going back when I was 16. I had first got my license, and I drove by it. I looked up, I said, "We got a Russian church?"
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, it kind of looks like it's from Russia.
Well, that's the whole problem with this war. The Ukraine was part of Russia for a while,
right,
just like regardless of what's it's horrific what's going on over there, obviously, but. The problem is that, it's kind of like Palestine. The Palestinians, will never stop fighting for the land, because that was their land. And,
that's right.
And, Israel sits on land that was Palestinian land. They were given that land, but, the Palestinians didn't give it to them. The Americans and the British did. Mm-hmm. And so that'll never, ever get settled. And the reality is that, Russia feels Ukraine is part of Russia. And, as a matter of fact, if you remember, they even I think they made a movie, Robin Williams in it. They've made a few movies. What they call the Russian area of New York, Brighton Beach, was called Little Odessa.
Right.
And Odessa is actually in the Ukraine. Mm-hmm. But that goes back to when it was part of Russia.
Right.
They actually call that thing. But it's getting hairy over there, and.
But Putin really took it in the face with this one, because he didn't expect such pushback from the Ukrainian people. I mean, they're really fighting him long and hard. And they're showing pictures of dead Russian soldiers, which I'm surprised from liberal media. But they're showing pictures of dead Russian soldiers next to their tanks that have been bombed or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Well,
And not that I think people should see that, but I mean, these are how far these people go. And there was a doctor I was watching on an interview I think it was 60 Minutes last night, who turned around and said, I grew up here, I was born here, I lived here, and I will die here. And I will fight for my country. And the reporter said, will you die for your country? She says, I was born here, I lived here, and I will die here.
yeah, well, that's...
And she's a doctor.
Yeah. Well, you got the Klitschko brothers who are both heavyweight champs. One was Amir Kiev or Kiev, whichever you want to pronounce it. It's pronounced both ways every time they
Yeah.
talk. They're there, and actually they were in the Russian military. When that was part of Russia, and they were boxing, their regular job outside of boxing was they were officers in the Russian army. So, the thing is that you look at this and you see these things. Of course, they expect it. But I saw two different military opinions, and the problem is it's about politics. They're trying to, obviously it's going to be tough. You can't really fight in a land war in an area that's not suited for guerrilla warfare like Afghanistan with its mountains and stuff. You really can't have open field warfare. The same thing with Vietnam, with the jungles. But realistically, it took the United States about a day to wipe out the entire Iraqi tank force when we had the war, because they're out in the open. They've got so many modern, weaponry now that can just destroy tanks and aircraft just without even hesitating. And, and that's what they're doing now. The Russians are rolling in with regular tanks. But I saw two distinct different opinions. They had a colonel who's very good. He's on a lot. And first they had the general, the Russians screwed up this, they screwed up that, and they waited too long. They're taking a long time to take it. But then the colonel basically said, listen, he was pretty well up on history. He said, listen, that's the cradle of their religion over there. The Orthodox religion, it's there. And he said they actually got outside of Kiev, and they stopped. They said because Putin really didn't want to destroy Kiev or
Right.
Kyiv, because he didn't want to have to, number one, rebuild their infrastructure, and also because it was a cradle of their religion. And he said they actually sat there to trying to give him a break. He said if they, ultimately it'll get to the point where they're taking too many casualties and he'll annihilate them, because obviously they've got far more weaponry than they've got. And if they start using there's a new missile they have out that just wipes out everything. And they've got a couple of bombs. Actually, they got the biggest bomb. It's a subterranean bomb, and I think it's against the Geneva Convention to use it. It's a war crime, but you never know what they're going to do. But you know what gets me about this? And it's inspiring in one way, and it's depressing in another. It's inspiring to watch these people fight, die for their country, and they really have to, because where are they going to go? It's their country. But you know what I see? I see people who love their country. People who love their country, love their nation. And it's not the most perfect nation. They've called Ukraine a corrupt nation or whatever. But you know something? Nationalism is what brings people together. And when I see America with their divisiveness and people calling America everything and they hate America, I saw a speech yesterday by Senator Kennedy from Louisiana. And he made a very good statement. He said, you don't see anybody trying to sneak into China. And he said, and you know something? He said, if you've never been to Arlington Cemetery, go there. He said, because there's 400,000 reminders of why you should get your ass off the chair when they play the national anthem.
Right.
This country's got its problems, But anybody who tries to pretend that it's what these wokies say and it's a disgrace, this is the best experiment in democracy ever created. And when you see people who are in Europe, who have gone through 2 world wars and numerous other wars, you see them with so much pride, they're not going to give up their homes. And I think that's one of the problems we have in the United States. We're going away to the Roman Empire. We're too rich, too privileged, the standard of living is too high, and they think, well, you know, we really got it tough. Well,
We're becoming hedonistic.
yeah, and that's what killed Rome.
Right.
That's what killed Rome. And the thing is that, you know, you look at these people, and their living standard is levels below the United States. But it's their country. And they're going to fight, and they have to fight for it because they're going to lose their country. And the key is that that's something I think the Americans have never really had to suffer. They've never had, except for the Civil War, they've really never had to fight in their own country.
That's right.
Except in a Revolutionary War, in the War of 1812, but that was so far back and it was so limited in comparison. But these people in Europe, all over Europe, every country in Europe, with 2 world wars, have had to fight in the streets, fight for their houses, fight for their lives. And it's a tragic, tragic situation. And everybody should hope that this doesn't escalate anymore because, you know, the politicians in this country, they're all going in different directions. And this was caused by the weakness of our president and what he did in Afghanistan, and you know, they knew going to Red China and telling them what we were going to do with Russia and the sanctions. Then they turn around and go to Russia and China goes to Russia and tells them what we're going to do.
Right.
I mean, it's absurd. But you know, the problem is that we've got to hope that this doesn't get any worse. And unfortunately, the way it's going now, you know, I think it is. And you have to just sit back and hope for the best for these people. And there are a lot of Americans, a lot of people from all over the world going over there now to help them.
Right.
But you remember, Russia is one of the top 3 military powers in the world. They've got a lot of equipment. And people say, they've got defectors and stuff. They don't care. Anybody ever see Enemy at the Gate? The Russians killed more Russians than the Germans did. In the Second World War, if you tried to retreat as a Russian, they machine gunned you. The Russians shot you. They shot their own troops if they tried to. They had one choice, fight
Or die.
or die. You know, if you fought and won, you might live, but if you try to retreat, you're going to die. They have a different culture, and it's a sad commentary that we got to this point because of ineptness and weakness. That's the thing, because the Romans knew how to do this right thousands of years ago. And the Romans said, if you want peace, prepare for war. If Putin would have been, and it goes, Trump's a maniac. Now Putin's the maniac, and he's a mental defective. But you know something? Maybe that's exactly what we needed there, because you notice with that mental defective we had in the White House, according to all the wokies, that Russia didn't do a damn thing.
I was going to say, we didn't have a problem.
China didn't do a damn thing. They didn't threaten Taiwan. They didn't do anything. You know why? Maybe one cuckoo was afraid of the other cuckoo.
Exactly. One flew over the cuckoo's
What
nest.
we didn't need was some guy that can't find his way off the stage after a speech.
Right.
That's what we
Right.
didn't need in the White House
Right.
at this time in our history.
But as you said, you know, it was one cuckoo against another cuckoo. And, you know, let's start a war. Okay, you start a war, I'll shoot a nuke. You know, I mean, and they didn't know what he was capable of.
Yeah.
And that was the big, you know, stalemate. That was the détente amongst all of it. And so as bad as he was, maybe he was pretty damn good.
He might have been the right man at the right time.
At the right time,
Because
exactly.
even that ding-dong in North Korea, who wasn't afraid of anybody, when
Right.
Trump went over there, it's like, okay, I'm going to be friendly with this guy because this guy's a little cuckoo. You know, it was like the Indians. The
Right.
Indians used to really, they used to take care of and respect crazy people because they thought they were possessed by the god or something.
Right.
But, you know, that was the thing. It was like, it's not a coincidence that during Bush, Russia got aggressive. During Obama, Russia got aggressive. Trump gets in, nothing. They put the crypt keeper in chief in charge, and now we got mass chaos because we got a clown show.
Right.
You know, we got a clown show. They know. You look at them speaking at the podium. Everybody he's got there. It's like you got a guy that wanted to be a rock star, but now he's the Secretary of State. You know, it's like, hello, you know, what do you got here? You got a bunch of people that you think that strikes fear in the hearts of cultures like the Russians, who have been killing each other and everybody else around them for 100 years since they overthrew the Tsars, and it's or China, who doesn't care. China's waiting, and that's one thing that our mainstream media. And you know that the mayor of Moscow gave Hunter money. He made money in the Ukraine. He made money in Russia. He's made money in China. And you wonder about a conflict of interest with our commander-in-chief. Why all of a sudden? But nobody's talking about China.
No.
I'm going to tell you something. You better remember. Go study your history books. Look what happened in North Korea when they invaded Korea and they began to lose. Who came across the Yalu? The Red Chinese. The Chinese entered the war and extended that war and made it a war that they had to come to a truce. Nobody won because they sent hundreds of millions of troops into Korea.
They have more people.
And now they've already done a couple of incursions over Taiwan. They're sitting back and they're looking. And that's what I'm afraid of. That's what I fear the most. I mean, everything is now speculation, but I'm going to tell you something. If this thing gets really hairy and then, you know, NATO gets involved over and above supplying arms, I think China, I keep calling it Red China, but it is Red China. So it's like, but China will side with Russia. And then you'll have two of the three largest armies on the planet.
Three of the nations of the world's superpowers.
That's right. 2 out of 3 of the superpowers in the world aligned.
Yep.
So you don't want China and Russia to become war allies.
Right.
Because it's not a good scenario, because both of those cultures have no problem nuking anything.
Exactly. They've got, and you know, the problem is that nobody has anything to lose, they think. They all believe, I don't have anything to lose, except for the United States, you know. But the United States won't do anything. You know, over the weekend, they cut out Russia from the SWIFT system, which means they can't move money around. Okay, so you cut them off financially. So what do? They go another route.
Yeah.
Maybe they go to China and say, look, we need to move money. Can we move it through you?
And they will.
And they will, exactly.
People don't realize that China owns a lot of America.
That's right.
They've bought all kinds of farmland, all kinds of other things. They own half of Hawaii.
They own SWIFT.
Yeah.
They own Dole. I mean, there's not a lot they don't own.
Yeah. China owns about half of this country, and they've allowed them to do it. Your boneheads in Washington have allowed this to happen because they just let China clandestinely take over the nation economically. And we've got huge, huge debt to China.
You know, I remember hearing a quote once from a politician, a diplomat, who turned around and says, there's no reason for China to bomb the United States. All they have to do is call in their notes.
That's right.
Call in all their notes, and that's it.
Yeah.
Because we can't pay them.
Well, but and also look at what we're doing with the corn husk in chief that we have. He hasn't stopped the oil.
No.
He won't put a sanction on that.
No, because he cut out our own pipeline, which was producing.
And he's also told every American that your gas prices are going up, and I will not authorize drilling on federal land.
Right.
I will not reopen the pipeline, because you know something? To me, the Green New Deal is more important than how much you pay out of your pocket. So when he says we all have to suffer, he's not suffering. He's a billionaire.
No.
Nearly a billion. They don't suffer. The billionaires don't suffer. Gas goes up to $7. Oh, it's because of this and because of the war. Well, you know, everybody remember, it wasn't that long ago a little over a year, we were energy independent.
Yes, we were.
We actually could have made money with this scenario, because if we could supply Europe with all the oil and they needed, just a year and a half ago. But what happened? His first order of business was to shut down the pipeline, stop drilling, and basically because all his friends and neighbors and all his pals up in Washington got stock in green energy stuff. So.
The worst part about it, I'm hearing noises.
Yeah, we got ghosts. Is that the Russians?
The worst part about it is that, as you said, we could have been extremely energy independent at this point in time. And this Green New Deal, they want all these electric vehicles.
Yeah.
The average electric vehicle can only go 400 miles.
Yeah.
If that.
Some 3.
Some are 2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah.
Now, here's the thing. What is the most expensive part of that vehicle to repair?
The battery.
The batteries.
Yeah.
The batteries. Thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah. But the average person can't afford to replace a battery in an electric car. They'd have to buy a new car, and if they can't afford a new car, but that's what they want.
Right.
They do not want people driving at all.
But you'll notice the president is in these gas guzzlers.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? And he's flying around in his Air Force One, doing gas guzzling. Where's the Green New Deal there?
That that the laws only apply to the peons.
That's right.
And that's the key.
To the poor and undeserving.
But you remember, like I said, he categorically refused in one of his speeches. He's saying, we're not gonna sacrifice the Green New Deal for this. So everybody suffer. Even though we had energy independence, we could go back to it, and then you could reimpose it after this is over. But we should remain energy independent. We've seen what a catastrophe windmills are when that's the sole source.
That's right.
We saw what happened in Texas. We saw what happened. There's a documentary on how inefficient they are, what an eyesore they are, and that they're always put in poor communities. They never put in rich communities. And, but,
Hence why Fall River.
This is the key. This is the key. That, you see this going on, and the United States is putting half sanctions. You're going to sanction Russia, shut everything down.
That's right.
Sanction their oil. No, he won't do that. Maybe he'll do it today. Who knows? I mean, it's getting so bad over there now. They're asking for volunteers to go over, and they're getting a whole bunch of volunteers. A lot of military guys that are still young enough, are going back to pick up a rifle, and because maybe they think, hey, at this point in my life, I'd like to go out like a warrior again. I'd rather do that than walk around with a diaper. So let me go back and fight for something.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned about the oil, and I wrote in the Weekend Flush that a huge customer of Russian oil, the number 2 customer in the United States of Russian oil, is Luke Oil. Yeah. Luke Oil. So if you're buying gas at Luke Oil, which I don't see many Luke Oil stations around here, you're contributing to the problem. Now we got to change the topic a little bit. 4 days from now.
4 days.
By noon.
Is that the 5th?
Friday the 4th.
Friday the 4th. Oh.
Jasiel's reporting.
Jasiel's reporting. Is he reporting?
So far, there's been no stop.
I haven't seen anything, no order, but it's getting close. Maybe the 11th hour will get reprieve. But wait a minute, there's another public service announcement we have to make. Wednesday, Lent starts.
That's right.
For Roman Catholics. Mm-hmm. That means for all you people who like Wendy's fish sandwiches, they will be back.
They will be back.
Because they're only there during Lent.
That's right.
So if you like the fish sandwiches from Wendy's, they're coming back.
Yeah.
It's Lent. Everybody who likes Wendy's fish sandwiches is looking forward to that.
And remember, you've got Higston Seafood, you've got David's Fish Market, you've got the Liberal Club, you've got all of these places to get fish and chips and stuffed quahogs and fried clams. And
if you can afford it now.
If you can afford it.
After buyflation, if you can afford the stuff now.
I went to buy a fried clam plate, fried clam and French fries. That's all it was. Okay, $27.
Oh yeah,
and that's 27. I said, forget that. I said fried clams are not worth $27 to me.
That's a deal.
Yeah,
are you kidding? That's a deal. They're higher in some places. Yeah. I think seafood plates are up around $50 now.
Yeah. They are.
$45, $50 for a
And
seafood
I used to love
plate.
those seafood platters, you know, scallops,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
clams. I mean, you had everything on it. Fish. You had everything you wanted.
Yeah, because you had, they got good seafood plates at McGovern's, good seafood plates at the Liberal Club.
Right.
But you got seafood platters, but those things now are just, forget it. But you gas up your car and you get a seafood plate, you're done. You're wiped out for a week. You have no money.
Your paycheck is gone.
That's it. You can sit. You can't pay your heating bill. You'll have to sit in your car and eat your seafood plate and waste gas,
Exactly. Which you can't afford.
which you can't afford. That's right.
Yeah, so it's
Tough.
going to be interesting to see what happens between now and Friday to see if Jasiel actually does report.
Yeah, everybody's on edge. We saw that because there's a reporting date, and there's been no rumblings about them attempting to get an appeal, extension yet. I don't know.
They got an extension on the appeal. They got an extension on the appeal.
Oh, on the appeal,
On
but
the
not
appeal.
his reporting.
Not his reporting.
But they normally put in an overlapping motion to keep him out of
Right.
jail. But I haven't heard any report about them putting in a motion to keep him out of jail.
No, that his stay is still pending. He had made that
Yeah.
motion way back when. Woodlock still hasn't answered that. But what's also interesting is Jen Andrade's plea.
Mm-hmm.
She put up together a new plea deal.
I know.
Again, she serves no time. And she pays a $10,000 fine, and she gets a year of probation.
Yeah. Well, look, she doesn't want to go to jail. We all know that.
Yeah.
She's yanked two appeals already because Woodlock said he wanted jail time.
Right. I don't know if he's going to go for jail time this time. I'm wondering if he'll accept it. It's going to be interesting to see.
He's a big disappointment. I can tell you
He
that
is.
much.
He has
He's a
been.
big disappointment.
He has been a big disappointment. Well, I mean, do you remember the Trot Lee text message between Trot and Chris Peckham?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this morning, one of the radio announcers got a text message that said, Jasiel, shake off your suit. It's time to report.
Well, that was quite appropriate, wasn't it? But it wasn't from Trot Lee, though.
No, it wasn't from Trot. It was a,
You think he learned his lesson? I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe he did.
maybe. But I'll tell you, it's interesting to see. I mean, do I want to see Jasiel in jail? Yes, I do. I want to see him to finally serve. Because if it was you or I, we wouldn't be getting all of these extensions. We wouldn't get all of these extensions.
Yeah, we'd have half the sentence served already.
That's right.
Because
And and that's the thing. With all of these extensions, the time doesn't start until he goes in. So he's still got the 6 years to serve. Yeah. He's hoping that at the appeal, he either gets a new trial or they vitiate.
Yeah.
the
Well,
sentence.
I think he's hoping that he's going to go in late enough to where when he gets out of jail and serves his sentence, he'll be eligible for Social Security. I don't know. I don't know what his plan is. It's kind of like the plan they've got over in, for sanctions. But let's. Well, I know we're running short on time, so let's all hope and keep in your thoughts what's going on. I know that they're supposedly meeting between Ukraine and Russian officials. Hopefully, they can do something to put a lid on this.
That's on the country outside of the Ukraine. What is it?
There's so many of them.
Yeah.
Estonia, Moldavia. Geez, there's so many little countries. I forgot, but I know they are meeting. They had a big, and let's hope that they can come to some mutual agreement so we can stop this, because there are, soldiers fighting wars, but women and children die in these types of wars.
Yeah, they're all living underground
Yeah.
in Ukraine right now because they're afraid their house is going to be blown up. Because one house was blown up, one apartment complex was blown up, and that was a shame because that's all civilians.
Yeah.
That's not military personnel. That's civilians.
That's right.
And that's the worst thing in the world. Well, that's it for today's show. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for inviting us into your home. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Ash Wednesday. Have a great day.